Bev's Video Kingdom is intended for a mature audience. Listener discretion is advised.
I can grab your favorite podcast. Let's start this thing. Woo!
What is up, everybody? This is the Bev's Video Kingdom podcast. We are back at you on a Tuesday, about to drop a brand new movie on you. Well, it's not a brand new movie. It came out in 1999.
brand new selection.
Just came out.
I mean, essentially for some people, this is kind of brand new because this movie right now, if you weren't able to find it because we posted on the socials, only available on YouTube. It is not available to stream anywhere, and we'll get into that a little bit later of why that actually is.
Well, not true. Not everywhere.
Why are we waiting to shit on Harvey Weinstein? Can we just do that now?
Fuck it. Let's bomb on that dude right now. So yeah. Dogma is the movie we're doing. 1999. Kevin Smith. This is Kevin Smith's fourth theatrical release. The reason you were not able to find it on any streaming platform is because when this movie came out, there was some controversy, and we'll get into that a little bit later.
Brad, is it Clerks chasing Amy Mallrats? This one?
Clerks Mallrats chasing Amy.
Clerks Mallrats chasing Amy Dogma. Got it.
Yep. This movie had some religious. It's a religious movie. Talks about the Catholic religion. Just a real quick short story. The Catholic League got mad. This guy William Donahue, he was all pissed. They pressured Miramax into not releasing this movie. So what the Weinsteins did is they bought the movie themselves, and then they went and took it over to Lionsgate and had them release it the following year. Now, because of that, when they made that contract back in the late 90s, there was no streaming services. So the contract is strictly just DVD and movie. That's all that they made the contract for. That contract expired at some point. The Weinsteins still own the movie, but fuck Harvey Weinstein. Nobody's going to be giving him any money to buy this movie. So,
but apparently everybody is willing. Somebody's willing to put it on YouTube, and YouTube's willing to be like, we don't see that.
YouTube looks the other way, like
because it's a full, solid. I mean, just clean.
The color
version
is slightly off. Besides that, it's pretty perfect. I think
maybe because there's no stream of it, like on an actual legit site, that there's no like the algorithm has nothing to go by. So,
but I mean, here's my question, right? Like, we all agree that Harvey Weinstein is just a full-on piece of shit, right? Like there's nobody like nobody. So like, what has he got to do other than sue people? Like, why is he not like, well, you can't.
Is he not in jail?
Wait, isn't he dead or cameo?
No.
He didn't.
He's
he on
not dead
cameo?
yet.
Oh,
no,
okay.
I don't know where he is.
I
think
you're thinking of the.
I think he's. I don't think
I
he's
thought
in
someone
jail.
passed away in prison.
No, that's the child trafficker.
That's Dave. That's
Epstein, right?
Epstein.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right. That's
And he didn't pass away. He either hung himself /
shockingly, he's actually worse than Harvey Weinstein. So nice work finding somebody who's worse. So Harvey Weinstein. I don't think he's in jail. Who knows? He's probably
He's probably not.
You know what? I didn't take the time to look him up because I'm like, fuck Harvey Weinstein.
But once we get Ziggy the intern, we'll just tell Ziggy to.
We haven't talked about this.
We're
Talk about that.
We're working on getting a Bev's Video Kingdom intern who we intend to only refer to as Ziggy, no matter what that he or she's his or her name is.
Yeah, we're gonna do old school for the first movie. The first movie that he's on, we're gonna do old school, and then just treat him like a pledge the entire time without any warning. Not tell him. We'll be like, yeah, we're doing the movie old school. Just come on down, and then we're just gonna clown him the entire time.
Yeah. So if you want to be a Bev's Video Kingdom intern, just jump on in. Maybe we'll get somebody that's like retired, like that like in The Intern with De Niro. It's like some like 68
you're gonna
year
call
old
De Niro type character. That's sweetheart Ziggy.
Yeah,
100%.
Oh, if we get a De Niro type intern, that's more Ziggy than even a 22-year-old.
Yeah, we decided Ziggy would be a good name for the intern.
But Ziggy will be doing some research for us, and they'd be the type that would be looking up
Figure out what
the hell Harvey Weinstein's doing because. fuck that guy. He and his brother own the rights to the movie, and that's why it is not available anywhere
except on YouTube for free. So
except on YouTube for free. So if you weren't able to find it, you didn't see the socials where we told you what to do, you can check it on YouTube. It is 100% free, and I fully endorse going that route, because
normally we like to protect intellectual property, but since Harvey Weinstein's a piece of shit, we're just gonna just piss all over his intellectual property.
Fuck that guy.
I've never respected intellectual property. It's been a long ride from Napster to here.
So Dogma, the movie we're looking at, it was a 1999 release. Its budget was about $10 million. Its worldwide gross around $31 million. I know Kevin Smith movies typically do pretty well on DVD, so the DVD, the back end stuff is usually makes some good money. It's an interesting flick. It's this weird blend of serious kind of religious perspective as well as a stupid comedy at times. And it's one of those movies that I remember I saw it in the theater twice. I took my dad once. He was pretty religious guy, and I thought, hey, you know what, Dad, check out this movie that's kind of about religion.
And you had already seen it when you took your dad?
I did. I had seen it once.
So you saw it once, and then you were like, Dad's got to see this.
We've gone over in this pod before some of the things that I've watched with my dad that probably weren't the best to watch, but we've checked it out. So we went together, and I know he was not the biggest fan of it. I think since then he's always been very soured on Kevin Smith films, just because
you took him to Dogma. Good work.
No, he just the cussing. He doesn't like the cussing. He's always been a big anti-cussing guy. So
he's a big fan of the pod.
Well, that's one of the first questions he asked about. Wait, you guys cuss on the pod? I'm like, yeah, we kind of talk like we talk.
Yeah, Pop.
So I don't know, Dad. If you're listening, I apologize for all the F bombs.
I'm sorry, Coach.
My new neighbor, Coach Franca.
That's true. Very soon, not too long.
Are we free to talk about this?
Yeah, I'm going to release you guys. Go ahead and tell me what you got to talk about with this movie.
So I like this. I like it a lot, and I might like it even better on this watch. It's been a long time since I've seen it. But I will say that there was something about this one that, it's kind of a real yin and a yang. So, we talked about his first releases, right? We get Clerks, we get Mallrats, and we get Chasing Amy. And all three of those have some kind of biggish stars, but Clerks doesn't really, but the other two, but they still feel real off the beaten path. They feel like you're getting something that you're kind of in the know when you watch those and like those a little bit. slowly less so. But then this one, it blows it out, right? At the time, it's as big as it gets, right? Alanis Morissette's in it. This isn't very long after Jagged Little Pill.
Lots of stars. Chris
Chris Rock was just at the top of his game at this point. Damon and Affleck together again for the first time. This is. When you really, if you're around then, or if you can put yourself back, given the sort of silliness of the movie, the level of talent that's in the movie is kind of absurd. And for me, there were some things about it that I think really, it brought some real talent to a Kevin Smith script, which was really cool. Not that there wasn't before. On the other hand, I guess I kind of found myself this time too missing some of the feel. I was like, oh yeah, I remember watching this for the first time and feeling like it's not exactly like Kevin Smith sold out, but it was kind of that feeling okay, it's not just our club anymore, it's not just the people that are Kevin Smith fans. This is everything. And I loved Damon and Affleck. I loved all that stuff. So it's not even a thing about the movie. So I feel I really like the movie. I love the religious satire. I have lots of commentary on that. But I do think that this marks a little bit of a departure from some of what the early Kevin Smith was great. And I'll talk a little more about Clerks in a little while, because for me that holds a real special place. But man, I really love this movie, but it's something different.
So, in line with what Nate's saying, this was a big movie for me. I was really into. I never got huge into Clerks. But I really liked Mallrats, and I really liked Chasing Amy, and then we saw Dogma, and it ended up being a big deal for me. I was really into it. I really loved Damon and Affleck and their interaction, the scenes that they had together, and their big, I don't know if it's not Tarantino-esque, but their big long dialogue scenes. I really dug it, but on this watch, I think it benefited from me being 16 or whatever at the time when it came out, because on this watch, I've watched a lot of movies since then, and I just get the feeling that sometimes I feel like Kevin Smith like brings the worst out in actors. Like there's something about the way that he writes dialogue that makes it extremely difficult for people to, I mean, it's like...
So I think the female lead suffered dramatically from the exact.
She's trying to be so quippy, and she's just not. Yeah. I mean, it's just
she just doesn't do his dialogue.
She's kind of off already in a multiple roles of hers. She's rarely, I feel like, flawless in anything that I've seen her in.
Linda Fiorentino's had a weird career. Yeah. I mean, she was obviously one of the leads in Men in Black,
Vision Quest, baby.
Going back, Vision Quest. She was in a few different things that I don't know weren't that interesting, but she's odd. Like she's never blown my socks off. She has that weird kind of it's a sexy voice. I kind of like the sexy voice, but she has a very slow delivery, and it just didn't work in this type of comedy.
And now she's got these lines that are supposed to be delivered like so quickly, these quick asides that she's supposed to say, like after someone says something to her, she's supposed to be like, well, something really quippy, and then right back into her lines, and it sounds super forced sometimes. And I don't want to pick on just her, because I think Affleck, Damon suffer from it. Rock is not at this point. He gets better in some stuff that I've seen him later on in, but he's not. I mean, nobody's like a great thespian in this. I mean, you've got the sheriff of Nottingham just killing it, and his scene with her,
Rickman,
his scene with her in the water is like super heartfelt. This actually has a really great soundtrack. There's some really great like swelling soundtrack.
Howard Shore
moments
was the classic. Was the composer there?
Yeah, so I really like it, but sometimes I think, man, if he did a little bit less of these people are supposed to be dumb, and they're just speaking in these huge long like monologues with the big words and just trying to sound super smart or pretentious or whatever it is. I don't know. There's something pretentious about it to me, and it doesn't always work, but I like the movie.
Well, some people fit with it. Jason Lee fits with it. Like he just has that right delivery. Salma Hayek, when she's delivering lines, it's like it's forced.
So I have written down right here, Jason Lee, it works with in every movie for some reason, because he is that quippy, like freaking, quick talking dude. I bet you like Vince Vaughn could probably do this stuff, to harken back to the episode we did before, but some of these guys, it just sounds clunky in their mouths.
Jason Lee needs to be in a Tarantino movie.
Oh, dude,
that's what he needs to be in.
That would be fun. Nick, what you got? What's your opinions on this this crazy little flick?
So I like Dogma. I came late to the Kevin Smith party, college, and I think actually Dogma or Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back were the first Kevin Smith movies I saw, and then I saw parts of Clerks. I don't think I've seen all of Clerks all the way through, actually. Mallrats, so it might have even gone backwards almost from Jay and Silent Bob, Dogma, back to Mallrats, and then Chasing Amy. I mean, I actually I like Chasing Amy.
Agreed.
I think that might be his best movie. Jay and Silent Bob, I think, is his funniest. Strike Back, to me, is his funniest. What's cool, Clerks is like an art movie. It's like so cool, and it was like he was on his own path. It was completely original, and like, so what's such a big jump, right, Nate, from like the black and white art movie Clerks to this with like the star-studded cast that kind of blows your socks off a little bit. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Well, and the transition from like, there's still a lot of that left over, in the sense that like, it's very, for me, a big part of what I'm a 14 or 13-year-old when Clerks comes out, maybe 12. And like, it's so crude and raw.
Yeah.
And I had forgotten that like a lot of that still shows up in Dogma, mostly from Jay. So like, that stuff's still there. Think about the transition in terms of content here, right? You have this really grand satire where it's not at all an everyday thing. Part of what made Clerks so great was like, you have this like, it's the ultimate mundane, everyday, sort of like experience. Right, it connects with you in a way that like is so at home, which I want to talk more about. But so I totally agree that like it's a crazy transition, from that art, really grounded, raw kind of movie that Clerks was.
And along with what Nick's saying, I think that was like a big story probably leading up to this, right? Because the two movies before, Mallrats, Chasing Amy's, Clerks, these were all, I mean, pretty like well received. They were kind of cult classics almost. I mean, they were really cool with like young high school kids. At least they were at our school. Everybody knew all the lines from Mallrats and Clerks. There's a bunch of quotable stuff in that, and everybody would kind of spout those lines off. Even though I'm not sure if we really followed everything that was happening in those movies. But wasn't it like kind of a storyline leading up to this that he had like a big budget and a bunch of stars and stuff? I don't know if you remember, Brad.
Well, yeah. So Mallrats was kind of supposed to be that first big budget Hollywood style movie. And it kind of bombed. It bombed really bad. And so Hollywood kind of soured on him. And so then he does Chasing Amy, more of an indie film, a lot lower budget, just kind of smaller release. And so this was his return back to kind of the big Hollywood movie. And so it was like, what can he do this time? But by this time, Chasing Amy had garnered so much like critical success that he now was like, people were like, okay, I want to check out this movie. It didn't kill. It didn't do great. But it was enough to really get him going on the rest of his career.
But I'm sorry, I just really quick, Nick, I know I cut you off, but if you're a big Chasing Amy and a big Clerks guy and you go see this movie, I mean, it's far enough removed from those that you're like, all right, this isn't the indie movie that I thought I was going to go see, this View Askew movie. You know what I mean?
Well, it's funny. I feel that way because watching it still feels very, at times, amateurish as far as
shit
like
monster.
I'll get to that later. But the shooting, the angles, the filming, like there's things about it that I noticed that's just like, it seems like this is a really kind of interesting story. I would almost like to see the story in somebody else's hands, as like a serious movie almost,
without Jay and Silent Bob.
I mean, I love the Kevin Smithishness of it, but at the same time, I think there's a story there that's pretty interesting, and I think it sometimes just gets torn away with some of the really shit monster and ridiculousness that Kevin Smith brings into it.
Yeah, like I don't want to step on reshelf. I just thought of a reshelf. I'm writing it down. To have a guy like Affleck in your back pocket for your first, was he in Clerks?
No. He was not in Clerks.
He wasn't.
But he's in the next three.
For your next
Shows
three
up in
movies, and then he's in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. So there's that connection, and that's as, Ben Affleck's as his stock's rising. So not a bad guy to connect. One of my questions as we get to Drinking with Directors, just what happened after that big budget of Dogma and Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. You have a young Will Ferrell coming out of SNL and just coming in hot into the movie scene too, and that had a pretty good cast, but not the upper echelon like he had in Dogma. And I'm just curious, like what happened, after that. And Brad might be able to tell us, but I feel like I didn't realize it was as long as it was Dogma. I didn't realize it was 2 hour 8, 2 hour 5 in that range. Chris Rock is funny as hell, but I hate his acting.
Oh, really?
There's some really bad moments. I think there's some really, really bad moments.
Comedian who will at times act in a drama. He can't fake it. It's all forced. It's all silly. It's all corny. I can't stand it. He doesn't do a lot of it in this movie, but even a little bit kind of bugs. But I like Dogma, and it was fun to watch because it's been a long time since I've seen Dogma, and just a Kevin Smith movie. And thanks to Brad, we've been able to watch Mallrats and Dogma, and now I want to get back to Clerks.
A couple things before we get to Drink with Directors. So this was Kevin Smith's fourth release. At the end of Clerks, at the very end of the credits, it said Jay and Silent Bob will return in Dogma. He had actually written the script, I think, before Clerks and had it in his mind. Held off for a couple different reasons. One was like he wanted the technology to be able to be, the budget to be a little bit better so that he could do kind of a good version of it. And then, again, I mentioned a little bit earlier, the Catholic League had a huge problem with it. William Donahue was this asshole of the Catholic League that started shitting on this movie when it first was starting to get any traction that it was going to be coming out. And it was just basically, this is going to be an affront to all Catholics. Kevin Smith, Catholic, and was just really crazy about it. They had huge protests in Hollywood and things. It was pretty significant enough that Miramax just said, yeah, we can't release this. We're too afraid of the Catholics. So it's kind of surprising that a big company like that would bow down and say, yeah, we just can't do this.
I wonder if the old Vatican stepped in.
I don't know how deep it went, but it was pretty serious enough. And Kevin Smith there was a funny quote that after about 6 months of protesting, finally the Catholic League contacts him and says, William would like to see a preview of this movie. And he's like, Wait, he hasn't seen it? What has he been doing for the last 6 months? Like,
He's just been protesting it.
Just been protesting without knowing anything about it, essentially. So,
oh my gosh.
So pretty wild. But let's go ahead and move on to drinking with the director, because Kevin Smith, while he probably maybe has a drink, but he would much more like to probably blow some smoke with us if we had that going on tonight, because he kind of like Nate. He's in the same vein as Nate. That he
Nate's face. He's like, "What are you?
Where are you going with this,
What are you
buddy?"
about to say?"
Kevin Smith for a long time did not smoke weed until in about his 30s he starts smoking weed. Like after making a bunch of these movies, eventually he finds weed and starts becoming.
I don't smoke a lot of weed.
FYI, I like Nate without.
I'm saying
There's
as
a
somebody
parallel.
who moved on to who had never had alcohol until the 30s.
Got it.
So that's my comparison.
No, I like that. Let's leave it vague. So
It's like Nate, didn't do any heroin
Just
until his
exactly.
30s.
So
true.
Kevin Smith's going to sit down, but before he gets here, we need to talk about what are people drinking, because there's actually some variety here today. Although Drinking with the Director is sponsored by Last Call Brewing out of Oakdale, California.
What day does this come out?
This is going to be out Tuesday.
Tuesday,
next month,
the
or
18th.
next week.
I believe it's the 18th.
Yep. So we've got about a week, guys.
No.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Oh, because it's in February.
February 5th, right? So a little over 2 weeks from when this is first out, we are going to be doing our BVK IPA beer release at Last Call Brewing in Oakdale. We'll be there around 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening at the downtown tap room, and it is going to be a good night. Scotch Beck's coming to play. I hear Zach, you going to play a little bit? You going to sing?
We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
He's gonna play. Just come to watch.
So you got to come. We're gonna be just having a good old time, trying our beer and selling some t-shirts.
It's going to be a fun night. We're going to have some contests. We're going to some music, some bullshitting, some good stuff,
Some merch.
some delicious food. I gotta say,
Oh.
the food truck that's going to be there, they are called Saucing It Up, and they make these little biscuit chicken sandwiches that are some of the most delicious
Little
things I've ever
chicken
eaten.
biscuits.
And they do chicken nuggets and spuds and stuff. So there's going to be some great grub.
And let me just throw this out there. I promised, and I continue to promise, that there will be a free t-shirt for the person that comes from the farthest away.
Oh, did we talk about that?
No, I just made it up.
I
I made
like
an executive
That's beautiful,
decision.
though. I like
So
that.
I want to know who's getting on an airplane. I want to know who's like, you know what? I've been wanting to go to California.
I liked how you thought about that thing right then and then talked about it in the past tense. You were like, and I said.
Oh no, I did. I think I put it on one of the socials.
Oh, really?
And you don't have to tell anybody. You don't have to tell anybody that I'm going specifically for this
No,
podcast.
just say I'm going to California.
I got some things to do.
I'm going to go visit San Francisco and then just pop out.
See the sights,
for the night.
and then again, we are only about 2 hours from San Francisco. So.
Yeah, just hop a
If you're
cheap
in San
flight to
Francisco,
SFO, man.
do like presidents of the United States and go into the country, have some peaches.
I wonder,
For sure.
maybe Patty Dolan going to come out.
Fatty D.
Maybe Kurt.
Gone to the country.
Maybe, I don't know. Roxy Frost is somewhere cold. Maybe she'll fly out.
She lives in
Yeah, she's
really
in the
like,
Arctic or something.
yeah, it's like a really obscure
Is that one of our fans? Is that another?
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
Roxy
yeah.
Frost.
That's why
Roxy
that's why her
Frost.
name's
Oh, yeah.
Frost, because she lives in the it's like where the Inuit people live in northern Canada.
All right. Well, let's get some good fans out on February 5th. So anyway, Last Call is our sponsor.
Yeah, they are. So what are we drinking? Because it's tonight. It's not Last Call beer.
That's because
karate,
we tapped out the karate in the garage.
the karate is officially tapped. So we're gonna have to replace it with hopefully a BVK IPA.
That's the plan.
I think
next
so.
time. So Nick, what do you got drinking over there? Cool looking
Went
can.
to the market in close by Modesto and grabbed some specialty colorful cans for the crew here. I'm drinking what's called Bone Frog Pale Ale from Moonraker Brewing Co. Says it's dedicated to the U.S. Navy SEALs. Tasty.
Damn.
Fully flavored, but
Let's see what's on that can.
not
It's
long
like a
after-
skeleton of a frog.
skeleton of a frog, yeah.
Sick, dude.
Is Bone Frog, I wonder if that's is that a nickname for like a branch of like the SEALs, I wonder.
That's what I call my dick.
I knew that. I knew it sounded familiar.
Bone Frog?
Bone frog.
Yeah.
Mine's Bone Tomahawk.
Oh, dude. Sick name for your dick.
Sick references, bro. Everyone knows that.
You just have to think about that guy getting his dick cut open. Okay. So I've got the Willie Nelson Stash IPA with a dope picture of Willie Nelson as you would think to the untrained eye it would look like a marijuana nugget, a nugget of marijuana, but actually it's It's like a hop. Yeah, it's a hop. I wouldn't know because
we haven't even talked about that.
Yeah, let's not talk about it. Let's just skip over that.
Oh,
Willie
it's
Nelson's
just another
beer.
shit story
It's
we can tell
delicious.
you.
It's absolutely delicious.
Didn't
we go see Willie Nelson?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, at the old fruit yard in Modesto Empire.
Quick story. We went.
Let's call it Houston. Come on. Willie Nelson came to Houston, played in Houston.
Yeah,
Willie Nelson came here and we bought tickets, and the tickets were not that cheap. And it was a really cool venue, and we got there and I wanted to buy a beer, so I went over to the beer garden, and they were like, oh, you got to buy beer tickets to get beer, so go get in that line over there and wait in that long-ass line and get yourself some tickets. And I was like, all right, fine. So I go over there and I buy like $40-$50 worth of tickets because I'm like, I'm not coming back and waiting in the ticket line again, you know what I mean? Go get beers, go to our seats, sit down. Willie Nelson comes on. He plays for 32 minutes.
It was a little more, but not an hour.
And he's like, not an hour. No opener, no closer. He was the closer, obviously. He plays for 32 minutes. He's like, thank you, Houston. Good night. And he's in his trailer pulling away, and we're like, what the fuck? And so I'm like, all right, I need to go get another beer. I go down to get another beer. They're like, beer garden's closed, no more beers. And I'm like, I've got $36 worth of fucking tickets right here. And they were like, sorry.
Yeah, Willie wants to be in bed by 9.
Dude,
I mean, to be fair, he's an old ass man.
He's got to be like 85, right?
Something.
Yeah, but you're like, I'm coming to your town. Give me $51 for a. I shouldn't have even plugged his beer. I'm pissed off right now. I don't drink this beer. It tastes like shit.
I don't think they actually brewed that with Willie.
This beer tastes like old men that fucking go to bed early and fucking don't let me redeem my beer tickets.
He is 88, so he was probably 80. He was probably 85 when this.
I remember super specifically $36 worth of beer tickets that I couldn't use. And
Did they say you could bring him back like next time?
Yeah, next time I want to pay another $50 for another concert. I haven't been back to the venue yet.
I didn't know Zach was this mad about that.
It's right down the street. You could just go pimp him in front of the venue one day and just be like, hey, drink tickets, get your drink tickets.
Full disclosure, the only thing that made that I just spilled beer. The only thing that made that night better. I was trying to shake my beer at Nate and it spilled. The only thing that made that night better was that Nick's beautiful brother Vinny was selling corn dogs. A giant corn dog trailer, and I walked right up past a big line of people right up to the window.
And you're like, I got 36 tickets.
I was like, Vince, corn dogs. Give me a corn dog, and he was like, boom, boom, like snapped his fingers. Some dude brought him a corn dog, and he handed it to me, and I paid for my corn dog, but I didn't wait in line. So I'm that type of asshole.
Hopefully, you didn't wait in line.
For 36 people for $36, man.
It was a $36.
You need to just let it go. It's not worth the $36 worth of
stress and
that you've got about it.
Anxiety.
So don't drink Willie Nelson stash. Go ahead.
Well, my beer is called Space Nectar, and it's also from Moonraker Brewing, which is up in Auburn, up in the hills, up above Sacramento. So Moonraker, it's a India Pale Ale. It's hazy. It's delicious. I'm very glad I'm drinking it. So
you know what I'm drinking. I'm not even trying to church it up here. It's just the straight up diet and grenadine tonight. I don't even have any whiskey. That's where I'm at.
A little brown.
Yeah, did you use some of that
I didn't
clear
put that
grenadine?
much grenadine tonight, you know? It's pretty much just Diet Pepsi.
You tapering down?
Yeah, I don't know what's on.
You get like a tolerance. You got to taper down every once in a while.
I got to cut it down or I don't get that rush.
So we can binge on Saturday.
I just read on Facebook some guy like posted about your grenadine, freaking that you were just going to ruin it with Diet Pepsi.
Oh yeah. That was very nice.
That was a great call.
All right, so Kevin Smith sitting down at the table, and we've got him here. What's our questions? What do we got from Mr. Smith, who's been a part of our movie watching lives for pretty much the most part?
Well, I mean, you didn't really talk about it, but he does a lot of other stuff than just direct movies, right? Isn't he like a big podcaster, one of the OG podcasters? I don't know the stories.
Definitely one of the OG podcasters. He's kind of started almost podcasting before podcasting because he would do these like Evening with Kevin Smith, where he would just go to like colleges and stuff and basically just talk to the audience, do Q&As, have them ask questions, and did multiple of these all across the United States.
Yeah, he would record them.
We'd record them. He actually ended up putting out a DVD of one of, or like a combination of a bunch of them. So he's been doing that for a while. But then, started podcasting. The Secret Stash, his comic book store that he had in New Jersey. Then he brought one out to LA. They actually had a reality show set in his comic book store not too long ago. So he's done a bunch of stuff besides just movie making.
I heard that he wrote certain comics. I heard he had a hand in writing some Batman series or a Batman comic and certain ones. I heard some negative reviews, but it's just one spot.
Yeah, there's some people that have love-hate relationship with some of his comic book style writing. He's directed quite a few different comic book based TV shows and things. So he's been out and around the comic world, of course. That was seen early from his Clerks days.
Did he try and come out with a Blunt Man and Chronic, like an actual comic release? Do you know? Did he ever try and make that into a comic?
That was the Chasing Amy one.
That was
yeah. The comic that Ben Affleck does in
I
Chasing
think
Amy, right?
they've done some runs of it. Yeah, I don't know how big it is. But I'm not sure. But I'm pretty sure they did a pretty big run of like at least one kind of collector's edition type thing.
Might ask Dave, my good buddy who's going to be on with us later. I think you guys will be able to chop it up a little bit about Kevin Smith. He's coming on Thursday. He's going to be our judge for Thursday. He's going to be our judge on Thursday.
Yeah, we'll have to ask him.
Yeah.
So I have a couple of legit questions for him, and you guys can play Kevin Smith. And these are about other directors. So in Dogma, there's some interesting, like a lot of references to John Hughes and John Hughes movies. Yeah. And they're not necessarily all positive. And and so like, I can't tell if he loves John Hughes or he actually like wants to shit on him. I mean, it could be that he just kind of like.
What's the reference you think? I mean, he makes fun of the fact that they came to Illinois and there's like, there's no good drug party scene that he was thinking that they were going to get.
Yeah, and he kind of like insults the dudes in that town and stuff. But then, he makes comments about Breakfast Club, comments about
Judd Nelson, and he like gives props to Judd Nelson. And
but the one that I really think is so it's actually through Selma Hayek. She says, I had a hand in like 19 of the most highest grossing 20 films, except one, and then she describes Home Alone, and she's like, like something like, no, you'd have to be, in a deal with the devil to be tied up with that piece of shit or something like that. So it's that was the one that like sparked the comment, and then I realized, oh man, there's a lot of John Hughes, and it's not bad always, but it's not always laudatory. So I was kind of like, oh, does he not like John Hughes, or is he honoring him by kind of roasting him? Or?
I think there's some teasing, and I'm pretty sure he loves all like the '80s John Hughes stuff.
Yeah, maybe there's. Sort of
Judd Nelson gets a role in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, so I mean, like he definitely dug the '80s stuff, but maybe he's just kind of. I mean, obviously, Home Alone was Chris Columbus was the director, even though John Hughes was the writer. But
yeah, that's a fair point.
So he sort of lost me after this movie. Like, so he does Jay and Silent Bob. He does some other stuff that I've seen, but I never saw the Jay and Silent Bob or the Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Are those good? Is it bad? Is it Dogma-esque? Is it more like? I mean, I have to assume it's like Bill and Ted type shit.
Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back is like Kevin Smith fan service. It's like they're going to bring back a bunch of the characters from all his previous movies built into this kind of really silly plot, and but it was just an excuse to get all his old friends back together and do a silly movie. But it's a lot of fun.
It's pretty damn fun.
It's as far as just a straight fun movie, I think it's maybe my favorite when it's just an enjoyable little stupid movie.
And Jay and Silent Bob, Jay's not there to fuck up a movie like Dogma, to turn it from what could be a really sweet, cool drama story to just it's following Jay and Silent Bob the entire movie. So it's their movie, and Tracy Morgan shows up super quick.
Sean William Scott. He's got a great role.
He's good. Will Ferrell's
Dietrich Bader as like the security guard on the set.
Yeah.
Oh, see, now I'm worried. You guys named like 8 characters. I'm not even sure who they are, and we're gonna draft Kevin Smith characters later. I don't know if that's stepping on anything, but that's what our draft's gonna be.
So the one that's the furthest in some way. Well, there's a couple that there's some I haven't seen, but I mean, one of the ones that strays totally away from this universe that I love. It's the one that I think people don't think of is Zack and Mary Make a Porno.
Right.
Yeah. So it has Jay as the Lester character there, and then it has a few other returners as kind of smaller parts. But
is it Jay's greatest acting performance?
Oh yeah,
he does what he's supposed to do. I mean, he's playing like a scuzzy kind of porn star.
To other Jay roles, but he's really funny in it and kind of sweet. Like he's much more like I would say yes, it's a much more versatile role for Jay. But I love that one. I haven't seen Red State, which
I've seen Red State, and it's a serious thriller. There's a little bit of comedy in it, but it's very much a serious thriller. It's kind of another take on religion. And Michael Parks, who's just amazing, rest in peace, Michael Parks. He plays this kind of Westboro Baptist Church style preacher in this little kind of cult commune place. And John Goodman is like an FBI agent. They're going to be taking down this because they think they're up to like some really no good.
Stephen Root's in it.
Stephen Root. Yeah, no, it's got a pretty good cast.
And it's pretty straight.
Yes, and it gets really kind of wild and a little bit crazy.
It's a good movie.
It's almost a little too wild for Kevin Smith. Like he doesn't kind of keep it under reins, but it's an interesting one.
Well, speaking of which,
and Michael Parks is amazing. Like
exactly, and that brings me to my favorite Kevin Smith movie, which is Tusk, which I don't know if you've seen that yet.
I have not seen that, and then the follow up Yoga Hosers I've not seen either.
I have zero desire to see Yoga Hosers. I think it's a completely different movie. It's following his daughter and Johnny Depp's daughter.
Yes,
they're like two clerks at a convenience store, and I guess that movie's about those characters.
Yeah, I think it's adjacent to the Tusk.
It is. It takes the two characters from Tusk and then puts them into that. But Tusk is a pretty wild ride. I'm going to talk more about it later. But
my question for Kevin Smith would be like, you used to seem to care. He used to seem to care a lot about kind of like what Hollywood thought about him and stuff, and it seems like he doesn't. Like, at what point did he really feel like, you know what, fuck Hollywood, I'm just going to do my stuff, do the things that I like to do. He definitely went a little bit, was one of kind of the first filmmakers to really kind of go out the box and like some crowdfunding and some like, I'm going to go just kind of do my own thing and try to stay away from Hollywood. He basically has done that with a few of his pictures. So
he owns all his shit, right?
Obviously not Dogma.
I guess not, right? Huh? I mean, I would think View Askew would be like the umbrella company, like Francis has. Yeah, exactly. That to where they. But I guess he doesn't own all the movies under American Zoetrope either. Remember, right. That's what Rob said.
Right.
So yeah, I guess that makes sense.
You got to basically pay for those rights, and I don't believe Smith. I mean, some of his later stuff, I think he probably owns, but as far as the stuff that were
the early stuff's all like big studio owned,
pretty much.
Even Clerks.
That was Miramax, I believe.
Okay. Well, yeah, because he probably put it out and did the film circuit with it, and then it was bought and re-released. Yeah.
So, I mean, I want to talk. Let's good a time as any just to talk about Clerks here. So, I remember it at the same time as a couple of other things, and so for me, it's a little bit hard to disentangle. But in my mind, Clerks came out, and I think this is true, within a year or two, came out around the same time that like Seattle grunge really hit the main, like around Nirvana's Nevermind and around some of the early Pearl Jam and like, but especially, I remember I have this vivid memory, which I think I've said on the pod before, but like Nirvana Nevermind comes out and I it was one of the few times where I was like in the moment, like everything just changed. Like this is so different and so everybody loves it so much. And I remember feeling that way about Clerks, where it was like, this was so different than all the movies that we had seen and liked and loved in the 80s up to that point, right? It was like a little bit of that kind of, same vibe of like discontent, discord, kind of like we're not quite sure, that same vibe you get out of that sort of like 90s grunge thing. But at the same time, like it had that charm of like, you felt like somebody was making a movie about the shit that you did. And when we hung out in a movie store a lot when we were, like through high school, and hung out kind of around like convenience stores and things in our little town. And this sort of felt like all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, they're making a movie about the kind of, and it was all the dialogue, right? We talked about this with Pulp Fiction too, but it's like the dialogue somehow makes you feel like, oh, okay, so the movie can just be about the funny shit people say that's kind of random and mundane, but it's still cool.
And the plot is secondary.
And secondary, yeah. But so I for me, right, like the thing about Clerks is less even about the fact that it's a black and white, or there's some other, that it has some of this like very like indie feel, and more that for some reason it just has this like authenticity to the dialogue and to the,
which like Pulp Fiction, right? Like Pulp Fiction came out around this time, and I remember you talking about Nirvana and around all of this happening at the same time, and the dialogue driving every scene, and it's just grabbing you in because it's elongated and it forces you to like listen closer to what everything that they're saying. Then they have the conversation about Star Wars and the workers being covered who are working on the Death Star. I was rewatching like that scene because I remember
from Clerks,
that scene. Yes. And you can't pull away from it. you got to hear how the conversation is going to end. Are they going to be happy with the results of the conversation? And no, I hear you, Nate.
In that same vein, like it's that movie set almost Kevin Smith up for failure, because it's like he was a dialogue writer, not necessarily a filmmaker. Like he makes films because he has funny scripts. So, but he never really evolved as a filmmaker. And so he starts trying to do these higher kind of concept things and stuff. And it doesn't necessarily work. Like I like pretty much all the Kevin Smith movies I've seen, but you can see that there's just, it's harmed by his direction.
So it's almost like what Nick was saying
as a movie creator rather than like a script writer.
So it's like what Nick was saying, or I think maybe you were saying earlier, that if you took the script for Dogma and gave it to whoever, fill in the blank, you know what I mean? And then is that, what's that movie going to be like?
Yeah.
You'd obviously, if you snip, the shit monster, or make the shit monster cool, or like somehow not like campy, and then, just take the sort of the campy stuff out, and if you just take all the Kevin Smithness out of it, like what kind of movie do you think like somebody like a big Hollywood director could come up with?
Right.
Probably a pretty forgettable one, right? I mean, not as
so that I was gonna kind of jump on that bandwagon. I mean, for me, right, as much as like the Kevin Smith prevents it from being, something else, I'm not sure anyone else pulls. I mean, like, I guess if I'm being honest, I'm there for the Kevin Smithness. And I'm not really saying like I wish they didn't have the other stuff per se.
It detracts from the Kevin Smithness, right?
I mean, I guess it does, because like you feel like you're a little bit, you have your foot in two different movies or something.
You're like, I wish John Hughes directed this movie.
Maybe. I will also say that like I'm all in on like all the sort of like satire about religion. I think that's all funny and fun and sort of smart in its own way. But I don't know. I don't know that I want anyone else to take it if we have to give up the Kevin Smith script. Like if we have to give up the Kevin Smith dialogue, I might accept some of the lesser filmmaking for the script.
Then it's Constantine.
Yeah, that movie about the archangels or angels or whatever.
It turns into that. You take Jay and Silent Bob, Chris Rock, Salma Hayek out and replace it with a dramatic director.
You're gonna have a big angel fight at the end and blah blah blah. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's this weird medium. Could you find somebody who could still keep comedy within it, but also make it just a better movie?
So
I don't know.
Quentin, like think about Quentin, directing.
Religious
based.
Yeah,
like,
attacking.
Like
I mean, not attacking religion, but definitely kind of obscuring it a little bit, and being able to do that while at the same time kind of make an interesting action piece and something like that.
Well, and I was going to ask Kevin Smith what he thinks of Tarantino. I mean, do you know if they have any kind of relationship or if they like or dislike each other?
At this point, they probably do it somewhere.
God, I remember reading something about that back in the day. About I think they had love for each other, but I think they really liked each other. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there was some beef about something.
I mean, because if you think about it, they're very similar in some important ways that no one else is quite like them, right? So. The dialogue drives it. That's one. And
they have a universe.
Yeah.
Okay. But not only do they have a universe, they also have like a crew of rotating actors that are kind of throughout their films. And neither of them is like, I'm just going to make a bunch of shit, right? They're both pretty particular about trying to make mostly things that they write.
Their own shit.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so in some ways, right, like they kind of stand alone in I mean, I can't think of anybody else that fits that description at all, right?
What year was Clerks?
Did we
cover
Scorsese, but
Clerks was 94.
Yeah.
So what else was 94 from
Pulp Fiction,
right? They come out the same year.
Yeah.
Kind of wild, right? Because I could see looking back at like the big dialogue driven stuff. It's funny that both those. I mean, what were their influences right before that? I wonder if they had similar.
Well, and I was going to ask, is there anything, can you guys think of anything prior to either of them where the dialogue drives the movie this much and it's so kind of played for being a combination of funny and super raw?
I think Smith always attributes Linklater Slackers as being kind of the movie that kind of influenced him. And it's a movie I have not seen.
I've seen it, but it's been a long time. I don't remember that. But it certainly doesn't have that same feel, I don't think.
I've never seen it, but I've heard a lot of like cinephiles reference Slackers.
We're going to get canceled for not seeing Slackers.
You mean you not having seen Godfather is going to be no problem, but not seeing Slackers and
people that listen to podcasts are like, Godfather, whatever. They're like, you haven't seen Slackers.
Yeah, but I mean, I think, and getting back to sort of the point from earlier that fits with Tarantino too.
I said Slackers, it's Slacker. I got to clarify because there was some 2000 comedy.
There's definitely a movie called Slackers.
It was Slacker.
And not that the stories aren't good, but like, you know, part of what makes you connect is that nobody thinks that their life story that they're living in the moment is all that interesting. But lots of people sit around think that they're funny with their friends. You know what I mean? Like, and and
we all gave a weird look at each other.
Why the fuck do we start a podcast otherwise, right? I mean, but I mean, lots of people sit around. They're like, that was funny. That conversation. You know, you live in a world of conversations that you enjoy. And so when someone makes a movie about conversations that you enjoy like listening to, that aren't about anything that seems like over the top or like you couldn't, like conversations you couldn't have, it's like all of a sudden this brand new way to bring huge numbers of people into the film, right?
But it always makes me wonder that, I mean, if you don't have a guy like Jeff, oh my gosh, I can't think of his name right now, but the guy who plays Randall in Clerks, or bringing in a Jason Mewes as Jay, or bringing in Jason Lee as Brody or Banky, and not having those guys deliver the lines, does Kevin Smith have the career that he has without those guys kind of like delivering it?
You can't say that fucking Jason Mewes in the beginning. I mean, maybe he did some stuff later that's okay, but I mean, dude, he's bad, right? I mean, he delivers the line, but I don't know.
But that in Clerks it worked because it was this
you
raw.
Don't think he's great as Jay?
We'll get to him. Okay. We'll get to him in the draft.
Gotcha. So I don't know. Do we have anything else for Kevin Smith, or?
I have a million things here that I want to talk about.
I would love to have a real conversation with him. Yeah, I mean, what happened?
Well, just like I think all the celebrities those circles that he was with, and those like, did something happen with friendships or connections? Like, and I read some things that it seems like he might be the type to take a lot of the criticism over the years to heart, because he responds to a lot in those open forums and through podcasts and things, and he seems like a guy who tries to talk and talk himself and explain himself maybe more than he even should to a lot of haters. And it seems like he wears maybe his heart on his sleeve a little bit more. Maybe I'm wondering if that got to him a little bit more, which is why maybe he hasn't jumped into writing something and getting it like that big movie, and him saying, no, I'm writing this, I'm not directing it, I'm going to wait till the right director and just make a passion project.
I mean, you got to think also, though, it's like if you were able just to make fun movies that you enjoy, that make you laugh with the people that you care about and that you like. I mean, he's doing Clerks 3. That's the next one coming out.
Yeah. Saw that.
And so, I mean, being able just to kind of get with those people that you've shared huge moments of your life with, and say, like, let's just have some fun again.
Right. And especially going through that, right? If he does wear his heart on his sleeve and he's going through that, at the end of that, most people come to that realization that I got to surround myself with people that care about me the most, that I want to spend my time with, which are those peeps. So I get that. I dig that.
There was a little bit of a middle finger to Hollywood at one point in his career.
So he had like a famous feud with Bruce Willis over the movie Cop Out.
Yeah, they beefed pretty bad.
And I guess Bruce Willis was like just super douchey and terrible to work with for him. And then you got to remember too, he had an issue. I think he had a depression and a weight issue. He got really big for a minute there. Remember, something happened where he was like sitting in an airline seat.
Dave told me a story about that.
Yeah, and I think he acted a fool or something. I don't know exactly what happened. I'm speaking out of school. This is going to be one of the ones. Someone commented on one of our pods on the Facebook group, and they were like, "These guys didn't even do the research to find out what was wrong with the fucking director of Die Hard or whatever movie it was."
It was Die Hard.
That's accurate.
And yeah, dude, that's what we do, bro.
We do research. It's gonna slide between the cracks.
We're prepping for Drinking with the Director, where we ask the director questions. We're not gonna look up the fucking answers. Well, I mean, it doesn't matter that he's not here.
And if we did the research, what would you scream at your radio in the car?
Exactly. You guys are all driving around right now like, obviously Kevin Smith has bipolar disorder and a drug habit. Come on, you guys can't do any 5 minutes of research.
No, he had a kid, and that was kind of a part of his life. And I think the weight thing, he wanted to, I want to be around for my kid for her life.
He lost it.
Lost a bunch of weight, but then had a heart attack not too many years ago. But since then, he's back. He's recovered. He's going on walks again. He does a lot of social media posts about it and stuff. So he's still staying in shape, doing his walks, and seems to be in good spirits. So I'm proud of Kevin Smith. I've enjoyed him as a filmmaker. He's made me laugh a shit ton in my life. So I have no problem saying, I'm a big Kevin Smith fan.
Yeah, I've always thought he was like one of the biggest Kevin Smith fans I know.
Good vibes.
So one more quick thing. I don't want to. We hardly talked about the religious. I mean, actually, religion part of this. So Brad opened by talking about the Catholic protests, and that made me wonder whether or not the opening, warning about not meaning to be offensive was added after that. Because it's like it strikes such a perfect tone for me about so many things. It's like, it's this is supposed to be comedy, but also if you read about it, right, that Kevin Smith is not an anti-religious person. He sort of sees religion as very complicated, right? I mean, he was raised very devout, but also I guess one of my comments is how poorly has maybe the Catholic Church it thinks in much longer terms than this, but 20 years later, and after, Spotlight and other ones and all that, I'm a little bit you guys are protesting this film, fuck off. Well, you know what I mean? There's a little bit of I won't even get into my Catholic Church bashing. Not no offense to Catholics themselves, but except those who have the institution, at the top. But I mean, I think he actually does a really nice job of skewering not just Catholicism, but Christianity and religion in general in a pretty interesting way without doing it in a way that's so simplistic that it ignores completely the reason for religion or some of the benefits for religion or the draw of it, right? I think it's kind of easy to take a shit on something, but not very interesting in some ways to just be like, well, I'm going to, we're chucking the whole thing out and we're just going to make fun of it from the outside looking in.
Right.
And, to me, it was a very inside looking in kind of a critique, which I thought, if I'm going to make the argument for Kevin Smith doing this movie and taking on some of the more serious parts of it, it's that he seems like he has a pretty good grasp on some of the nuance of what people who are religious have, what the problems they have with religion.
Yeah, for sure.
And I love that.
And to have Alan Rickman as the channel. As the catalyst between two, you couldn't have a better guy to kind of be your kind of narrator through it. You really can't.
Yeah. The Metatron is one of the best characters. In this movie by far. All right, Kevin Smith, we love you, buddy.
Peace, Kev,
brother.
Have a good day. And Clerks 3, I'll be watching it. I picked up the Jay and Silent Bob the reboot. I watched it on the streaming right as it came out, and so
Kev, I'm gonna watch Clerks 3 if one of these guys picks it for the podcast. If not, probably won't see it.
Kev,
brother.
I'm going to watch Clerks 2 first.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Snag, body bag. That's what it's time for. Shag, things we want to fuck. Things that we really just want to get down with.
We want to get hot and heavy.
Hot and heavy. Snag, you want to take it home to mom, and body bag, that's self-explanatory. Get that shit out of my movie. So, Nick, what do you got for that shag? They just get your juices flowing.
Affleck and Damon doing their freaking Good Will Hunting. Get them in, that bar banter for an entire movie. I love seeing them together, and I think that the quick dialogue, the quick spoken dialogue, the many lines of dialogue, I think Matt Damon's, I don't know if there's anybody better when he's rolling than Matt Damon. Think about Damon, Eisenberg, Social Network. I mean, you're talking about maybe top 3 or 3 to 5. Damon's got to be on that list. Just between the two movies. Including this movie, and then Good Will Hunting, obviously at the top of the list, and then Social Network. There's not a script, I believe, that's maybe longer or which was literally timed. And I'm not trying to jump to Social Network, but they timed how quickly they were able to read the script because there were so many lines of dialogue. So that explains why Jesse Eisenberg was having to talk so fast, and I'm talking very fast right now too.
Some of the scenes in this movie feel like they're trying to just shoehorn them in. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But I love seeing them together.
That scene in the parking garage, it's completely quiet. It's just them talking. And it was an interesting directorial decision from Smith just to let that big moment where you start to see Affleck's kind of making the turn into like, fuck this, I'm pissed now, and they have that big argument down there. That's a cool scene. Like,
and Damon kind of cowers, and you're like, oh wait, Damon's gonna cower? Like the Angel of Death, this dude like that's just going on killing spree. I like the opening, airport scene. When he says, "Oh well, then let's just kill everybody," and the woman scoffs in the elevator, and I love that cut. And then it cuts to the opening, the title, right? Like he says, "Oh, I'm not you," and then it's Dogma, right? Then it cuts to Dogma. So, anyways, it's Affleck and Damon. That's what I'm shagging.
So just the look he gives when they're at the back of the bus after shooting the dude, and he's looking over at Affleck, and man, they have that little conversation. That's a solid one too. That's them working together really well.
Yeah.
Zachy.
So I'm piggybacking because you know what? I'm going Damon and Affleck for the exact same two scenes that you guys just talked about, the airport scene and the parking garage scene. So I prefaced on the last podcast that I had a story about Dogma, and this is my very quick, very true story about Dogma. So this movie came out. I was super into it. My buddy Taryn, that I was really good friends with in high school, he was super into it, and we were both in drama, and we had to audition for plays or whatever to get parts in these plays. So we painstakingly watched and paused the VHS of Dogma over and over and over, both of those scenes, the airport scene and the parking garage scene. We had those scenes down so good, you guys. The whole thing between them, and we did both of those scenes at different times in drama class in front of the whole class, super intense and very serious, awesome. Talking about God and all this shit.
Can you still do any of the lines?
No, I can't. But when I watched it this time, it brought me right back to standing in that dude's mom's bedroom and going back and forth with the lines over and over and over again. We knew it really good. It was fucking fun.
You're like a B-League Cliffy Chamberlain.
Yeah, no, it was very much like that. It was exactly like that. I was
trying
out to be some guy that freaking Guys and Dolls, Guy Masterson and Guys and Dolls, and I was like, all right, I want to be Brando's part in Guys and Dolls, so I'm gonna do a monologue from Dogma. Here we go, you guys ready?
Some serious shit,
Nate. So I'm gonna give a lifetime achievement shag. This movie is not the one that it's the most prominent in, although it's there, and that is Kevin Smith loves New Jersey. And I don't have any relationship to New Jersey. I have nothing to say about it, but I love it that he loves home. He's not trying to make it more than it is, right? He kind of makes it,
it's not glorified.
It's not glorified, right? It has its warts, but he loves that it's home, and getting back to sort of somewhat what we talked about with Clerks and other things, he makes it charming because it's sort of familiar to him, and he lets us in on that familiarity. And we all sort of are where we grew up, and there are a lot of people that I think look at our part of the state of California and sort of say, well, it's kind of a shitty part of the state. And there, if you depending on what you're sort of judging it on, right? There are places where you might like it better, right? That we don't have the beach or the mountains right here. We don't have a big city, but we've always sort of felt like it's home. We have a lot of affection. I've always a lot of affection for it because it's home, and the charm that is sort of you don't see. Always. So I love seeing Kevin Smith be yep, New Jersey's my spot, and I'm always going to make movies about it, and I'm going to bring people in on my home. So that's my shag.
Good call. Well, to your point, all of us left to much cooler places than home.
Yeah.
And we're all back here to raise our families because it's home, right?
I always called it a gravitational pull.
Yeah.
The older I got, it was just you felt it, and you would, maybe you had a niece or nephew that was born, if you had a sibling that, and then it's all of a sudden you're like, oh, I need to get back for my niece or nephew's birthday.
Right.
Then another niece or nephew pops up, and then you have a friend that has a baby, and all of these things just continue to pull you back. If you're not yourself having a baby or getting married, exactly, the wedding, shouts playing at that wedding, I'm going to be there.
I got to kick my lady's friend in the face.
Well, and and even
my friends leave.
And everyone has that, and it is the pull of the people, but it's also there's a lot of scenes in malls in Kevin Smith movies, right? Yeah, and so in some ways we probably think of New Jersey malls because of Kevin Smith, and it goes from being a kind of cheesy food court thing to being it's kind of cool, like the malls in Kevin Smith movies. And we have our own things, right? We live amongst almond orchards and canals where as kids we partied on canal banks, and I imagine that, two of us could write a script that make that charming.
Maybe we could.
So I know. You guys, these guys wrote a script. You guys
wrote a script.
Not to step on that. They wrote a script. But really quick before we get to Brad's, Nate is bringing up something huge in my head that I want to put out into the universe, just like BVK IPA, which happened. Mike C, that we went to high school with, is a freaking filmmaker.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't we hit that dude up to have him? Have we talked about this? It just made me think of it. The last time I talked to him, Nate, he was telling me that he was making a movie about home, and like he had a whole script and was like in pre-production. If that happened, like we should have him.
I know he got on a show. It was that little short-lived Quippy or something like that. There was like a little app where you would watch like 10-minute shows.
I remember him talking.
They tried to make it a thing, and he actually was starring in a show on that. But then that whole app died.
It was like
great call. We need to hit
right. It was like 10-minute episodes, right? That was like their whole thing.
It was
Mike
quick.
C, if you're out there listening to us, hey man, let's.
The last time I saw Mike C, I spent some time staring at his belly button.
Oh,
and I don't want to make this weird, but I saw him because we were playing basketball.
Oh, and he's dunking on your face.
And I was guarding him. And he's like 6'3" or so, and the dude jumps like he's a kangaroo. And so like I wasn't like under the rim, like he was shooting threes in my eye, and all I could see all day was his fucking
just a casual jump shot,
just a casual jumper, and I'm like,
lint.
that's a 37-inch vertical right there.
We got to send him this conversation.
Oh boy,
the lint in his belly button was tickling.
I got a real good look at the lint.
Great dude that has legit made some real like films and things, and I don't think we've even thought to have him on the pod, but that needs to happen. Anyways, go ahead, Brad.
All right, my shag is Jason Mewes, and I know people hate on his ability to act. He's not an actor. I mean, if there's anybody who was ever not supposed to have a movie career, it's Jason Mewes. But yet, Kevin Smith, being friends with him back in New Jersey, throws him into Clerks, and he was just the most raw, like real character. Like there was no, you didn't think there was any difference between him in the movie versus him out on the streets. And that's just an amazing thing to do, that to turn that into an actual like lovable character that people care about, have watched numerous movies. He's been the star of multiple movies. That's fucking wild. And so he's had his problems with drugs, Dogma even. He was, I guess, fighting heroin addiction. There's some scenes where he's like nodding off, actually. But going back to about 12 years ago, sober. He's been sober 12 years now. He's on, I think, multiple podcasts. He keeps busy. And seems like he's got his head on straight and is a good dude. So.
And to his credit, I mean, he gets some great lines written for him, but he delivers them. The lines that he's given, he delivers perfectly. They're just so funny.
And some of his language is like completely his own thing as well. So I mean, some of his snoochie boochies and snoogans and bong and all that stuff. That's all like things he would actually say. So
he has the line in Mallrats when he says that Silent Bob made a Discman out of his mom's vibrator and chicken wire
and shit.
And that shit cracks me up. Also, fun Jason Mewes fact. Coming back to the hometown again, like. So my parents' good friends, their daughter who went to Houston with you guys, and I'll tell you her name off the air, dated Jason Mewes for like a while.
Really?
Wait, what?
Yeah, that you guys went to school with. We'll talk about that off the air, or we could bleep her name out.
No, we talk about that.
We'll talk about
keep that in mind because I did not know that shit.
Fucking wild.
All right, so Nate, what are you snagging?
It's got to be the dialogue, right? I think that for me, even in this movie where it sometimes is forced. I never get tired of the Kevin Smith rhythm, and especially when you put it in the right hands, right? Like it's a little more uneven here because I think, as we talked about earlier, it's more difficult to deliver for all the actors. But you get enough Jason Lee, you get enough, Damon doing it, you get enough Jason Mewes. For me, it's great. I mean, I still, it's my favorite part of the movie. And I definitely would. There's no movie that Kevin Smith writes that I don't want the dialogue in.
I'm gonna snag. I love movies that have plots that there's a concept of higher beings that are looking down on humans with contempt. In this one, it's a religious theme, and so you have the angels and stuff just kind of talking shit about humans and like the shitty stuff we do. Humans, we kind of just as a whole need to be more humble. And anytime any movies or entertainment are using like aliens or beings to look at the folly of humans, I really dig that. So I'm my favorite series of books, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, where humans are insignificant. Earth is considered mostly harmless in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. So the fact that we hold ourselves in such high esteem, but yet the idea when you have other people looking down on us being like, you guys are shit. I was gonna dig that. It's amusing to me.
So we're snagging, right?
Snagging.
I'm snagging. Similar to Brad, epic fantasy stories. I like being super ambitious with it. Unfortunately, almost always when people are super ambitious with their fantasy, especially when they try and do it on the scale that Kevin Smith's trying to do it here, it never really hits for me. But I love I just love the ambition to do something as big as this movie, especially in what year did this come out?
99.
99. There was, you had some pretty good special effects in this, but I have to go back to the poop monster. Like, what was the deal with that? Is that just they just wanted to get silly right in the middle? It's a long movie.
Let's have a conversation about that in just about 5 minutes.
All right, I'm sorry. Go ahead,
Nick. What you got for snag?
I'm a sucker for an extended, connected universe. So it's the View Askew, universe.
Yep, that's it.
And I just love it. I'm a sucker for it. So anytime you can bring characters and put them into another movie, whether it's a drama, comedy, a religious drama / comedy. So like bringing Jay and Silent Bob, bringing Ben Affleck's character and Jason Lee's characters throughout these movies. I just love it. So
especially between Clerks, Mallrats, Chasing Amy, that's where there was a lot of direct connections between character names and brothers and sisters of characters. So yeah, those three especially combine a lot of different characters.
Right before they start the Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, and that's what it's all about. Is like you were saying earlier off the air to Zach, and just bringing it all back for the sake of bringing it back for the fans, but like to connect in between three serious movies, and like Nate was talking about too. Right when Clerks comes out is Quentin Tarantino, so you want to talk to him about him and Quentin's relationship and how many times they sat down and had drinks and talked about what they were working on. And kind of spitballing things together. You just wonder, be a fly on the wall, and you just wonder if there were some serious conversations and some pretty damn creative conversations about that.
Well, and I wonder whether or not like those conversations were, and maybe just the nascent feelings about it were, hey, I'm in competition with this guy that's doing this thing that's very similar, or whether it's like, man, it's kind of he and I, and we're going. We're the only ones doing this, and so like I'm glad I'm not going it alone.
Just
you know what I mean?
Like
I want to know like which way that felt.
A couple of quick searches, really quick. Like when we were talking earlier about Quentin and his relationship, the article titles were just friendship or what their friendship during this or mutual respect and like these things that actually like just from the titles sounds like it maybe could have been positive, but I don't know.
I think the one thing that I remember reading that was a little bit controversial, I think Kevin Smith ripped on. Oh no, that was Paul PTA. PTA is the director that Kevin Smith shit on Magnolia as saying it was one of the worst movies he's ever seen in his life. And so he had a big beef with Paul Thomas Anderson that he thought Magnolia was, he loved Boogie Nights, but he hated Magnolia. So that's the one he actually had legit beef with.
I actually haven't seen Magnolia.
We've never seen Slacker. And we hate Magnolia.
I actually dig Magnolia. I didn't hate Magnolia. I thought it was all right. There's parts of it I really, really love. So my body bag, Zach, let's get back to talking about some shit, because my body bag is the poop monster.
Some shit.
It's so ridiculous, and it's not even done in like a funny or clever way. Like it almost just like exists like, hey, I had a poop joke here, check it out. And it just, there's nothing clever about it.
It's not even that like poopy, really. Like it's kind of like a weird mud monster. Like you could have made it poopier.
When it shoots this shit though, and it like explodes behind them on the bar, I watching that when I was doing my rewatch, I was like, oh shit, that's terrible.
One thing I know about working at a sewer plant for a summer is that there's less poop in the sewers than there is used condoms and tampons. And that guy would have just been covered. It would have been like he would have looked like he had like welts all over him with like used condoms and
condom tampon.
Yeah,
monster.
Exactly.
Oh wow. But yeah, that poop monster it was just a bridge too far. It was the one thing in the movie that really like 100% needed to be cut.
Yeah, I didn't mind it.
It needed to be wiped.
It needed to be wiped. 2-ply. Get
Flush
that
it
2-ply and
down.
get that shit out of here.
If it's brown, flush it down.
Nate, what are you body bagging here, man?
I mean, I hate to do this because I mean everybody's working hard and doing their best, but Linda,
are you going to shit on our
Fiorentino?
research right now? Are you going to shit on our research? Our lack of research right now?
He's going to talk about the pod. My body bag is this
my body bag
podcast.
is my body bag is my co-host.
Our lack of research.
I wasn't gonna wait till the Dogma pod to do this, but
Zig of the intern's fired before he even starts.
Yeah, he's not doing shit for me right now.
Linda Fiorentino, the main character who plays Bethany. I found her often distracting. Not terrible, but just for me, she was in a movie where there were a bit few distractions. She was my biggest, so I could have done with a different role. But I was trying to think like who do we put in there. And I actually think there's a lot of interesting choices. None that like jump out immediately, but like
Sandra Bullock?
Dude, Joey Lauren Adams.
So Sandra Bullock's not a terrible one. I mean, Joey Lauren Adams is in.
Yeah, if you want to stay in the universe, just put Joey Lauren Adams in there. I love her.
Yeah, so I guess I kind of thought for some reason Jennifer Connelly like weirdly jumped in for me. Like she's got some acting chops, and I wanted to see like what at this time what she would have done in this role.
If we're going brunettes, Liv Tyler.
Yeah, I don't think Liv Tyler pulls it off, but
she would have been bad just like this chick. But
she would have been bad, yeah. And then I was trying to go back in the universe, and the other one that I thought of this is
Svenning.
I actually don't hate that. I hadn't thought of that one.
Brandy Svenning,
but Shannon Doherty.
So
like I don't know that she would have been great, but she's kind of in the group, and I didn't hate her, so I don't know.
I like the Jennifer Connelly call.
Yeah, I like me some Jennifer
with
Connelly.
The cast that's out there. I mean, I know it's a young Jennifer Connelly, but this is around the time Rocketeer.
Yeah,
Rocketeer was like huge when it came out, wasn't it? Wasn't it pretty big?
I think if you're asking us, I mean, you can throw Jennifer Connelly on almost anything, and we'll be okay with it.
But I wanted to see her because it's like a slight comedic role. Like there's a little comedy in there, and I just wondered what she would have done with it. I don't know.
But anyway. She didn't have to. You know what I mean? She wasn't.
She could have played it. She could have played it really straight.
Right.
Yeah.
Linda Fiorentino seems like she should be in like the serious version of this movie, like the non-Kevin Smith version of this movie,
without having to be quippy.
Yeah,
100%.
Then she kind of fits a little bit better.
Yeah,
she could have been in Constantine.
All right, Zach, what are you body bagging here?
So we're gonna get maybe controversial, maybe not, but I can do without Jay and Silent Bob in pretty much everything.
Hard disagree.
I just don't know. I don't know. I like all my favorite parts of the Kevin Smith movies are never Jay and Silent Bob, except for that one part where he talks about making a vibrator out of chicken or making a Discman or whatever he's talking about. All the rest of it is all Jason Lee stuff that I like. I like some of the other stuff and some of the later stuff. I like a lot of the Ben Affleck stuff, but for me, Jay and Silent Bob are never the thing that I'm like, oh, like I need more of that in that movie.
You don't love them like being both super pro-choice and then rationalizing that they want to pick up chicks at the abortion clinic. Like,
hey, it's very in line with our fucking. That's where Will Ferrell's character from Wedding Crashers is going to be next. He's going to be like, funerals, fuck it, I'm hanging out outside the abortion clinic.
Yep. Pure gold. When he like convinces, he finally gets her to say that she'd fuck him if there was a bomb about to go off, and then he calls her a slut. I'm done. I'm done at that point. I die laughing.
No, he has some great stuff. I mean, when Jay is killing that demon boy, and then just like continues to kind of hump him and hold him into the like, for another like 3 seconds, like that shit is funny, but in this movie it doesn't work great for me.
You mighty duck fucks.
Yeah, I agree that it's it's a little out of place. I still love it.
Yeah,
I'm with you,
Nick.
I'm with Nate.
You got the final empty
Nick.
body bag. What's going in it?
So I didn't realize. It's been a while since I watched it, but I didn't realize to open the movie that's God who the mighty duck fucks beat up.
No. That's a homeless man that they trap God in his body.
God
jumps into the body.
God jumps down into that body to be a.
So when they put him
player.
in it, she can't get out because the body's like knocked out or whatever.
For God to be trapped in a coma body is silly to me. It's stupid.
That's the part.
God, God is all being, and you can't. Humans.
God can throw blows, man. He can throw down.
Humans can't withstand the voice of God because their bodies will explode and they'll become.
He didn't
dust,
see him coming.
But he can't slip out of a human's shell because he picked the wrong one and got beat up by 3 Mighty Duck fucks.
The Mighty Duck kids are scary though. They're pretty ominous.
I don't make the rules.
Talk about the Mighty Duck fucks. Like those guys are kind of.
I like the bee noise.
I like the bee noise. Yeah. But yeah, that was just like a weird thing that I didn't realize that I wish they would have played a little more into, but they didn't have another 20 minutes to spare
because they don't want
to try to make The Irishman.
They don't.
Yeah, it was only 20 minutes away from being The Irishman.
Nate's gonna turn this thing into 2 seasons.
It gets fucking weird when Jay and Silent Bob show up in The Irishman in the second act. It's fucking weird.
Dude, by the way, since we're talking about God, and this is not at all about, I love Alanis Morissette in this.
Yeah,
like I just like, she says nothing and I'm entranced.
Little shout out, just watched the Jagged Little Pill.
Yeah,
dude, that was fun to watch, and you don't revisit. I don't revisit that that time, and you don't think about you forget about how big of a deal she was.
Huge.
You remember ironic, and then I remember just that seemed to be a big deal in my head, but then the other 3 or 4 before
there was like
that were the
5
bigger
singles.
ones.
The whole album was
and
like
she just
insane.
Came out of practically came out of nowhere, changed from this teeny bopper 80s like Cyndi Lauper dress.
She was on Nickelodeon too.
She was
then
big
all
in
of a
Canada.
sudden became herself and like Alanis Morissette.
Yeah.
And her story is amazing, and I totally recommend you guys.
I haven't seen it. I'll definitely watch it.
Dated Dave Coulier and Ryan Reynolds.
Dude.
Yeah.
She's getting that stock
Just
early on
freaking
Ryan Reynolds.
She did.
Mike Myers is like, what the fuck did I do?
Yeah, I'm Canadian too.
And at the end, you get to hear like a current day Alanis Morissette sing some of her like new stuff, which is pretty damn cool. And I've actually listened to one of her songs. It kind of talks about her kids, and it's actually pretty touching and cool to hear Alanis sing in her voice.
Where do we? Remind me where is it on HBO Max?
HBO Max.
Okay,
it's actually a Ringer production.
It's a Ringer production.
Yeah.
Oh, we like us. We like it. Hey, Ringer. Anytime you're looking to buy Bev's Video Kingdom, we'll consider offers.
Let's put that shit in the universe. BVK could be a Ringer production if you're willing to. We'll tone it down. We will talk less about dicks and abortions and stuff. Come on,
a little,
tiny bit.
All right, folks, we are on to Cameo. Last week was not fun. Wedding Crashers, no Cameo. But this week, we have while they're a side character in this movie, they are a big part of the View Askew universe. And I would like you guys to take a guess. Who might that person be?
A big part of the View Askew. It's got to be Jay. He's on there funding.
No. But I said it, but not in this in particular movie. Dogma, is a bit player.
Oh,
Jay's a big part of this movie.
Brian O'Halloran, Dante.
While he is in that, it is not Dante.
And
is the dude on the bus that's making out with the chick?
That's Scott Mosier, who's Kevin Smith's buddy, and part of the crew. Not him.
And we know it's not Jason Lee.
Not Jason Lee. No. Nick's the closest so far.
What was your guess again?
It was
he guessed Dante.
So it's
Randall.
Yeah.
It is Randall. Jeff Anderson, the gun shop guy. He's in the gun shop. A silly little thing on that gun shop, if you watch it, and I actually noticed this, and then when I was going through the trivia, it confirmed it. I'd never noticed before. Ben Affleck's playing with a knife at one point, and then all of a sudden you see him kind of jump. He legit cut his finger with the knife while he was kind of playing with it.
And they left it in?
It's in the scene. So he actually cut himself, and I noticed him while I was like, oh shit, he must just cut himself. It's funny. And then saw in the trivia, yes, he did cut himself. So kind of wild. But Jeff Anderson, Randall Graves.
Okay.
A very, very important part of the movie Clerks. A hilarious dude. Recently on Cameo. What are we paying for Mr.
He's got the Star Wars rant in Clerks, right? Yeah,
absolutely.
Like that's the best part of that movie.
I'll bet he's 139.
200.
Oh, I mean it's an easy bet, 201, but I think it's going to be more than $200.
139.
Give me 198.
Jeff Anderson is available. $65.
Oh,
what? You all shot the moon on that one. Wow. No, it's he's
Clerks was a huge movie. That's wild.
But he never really went on to anything.
He never did anything else
outside of the View Askew universe. I mean, he really didn't do much else.
For $65.
He was in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
That might be your I know exactly.
How much is his business cost, bro? Let's have him on.
$380.
That's within
doable,
reach.
bro.
We should have him.
If you guys buy enough T-shirts, we will have Brody on the podcast.
That would be fun.
Not Brody. It's
Randall. Randall. How long do we get with him if we pay $380?
I don't know.
I assume it's still like
worth checking out.
2 minutes.
Dude, we'll tell him. We could tell him 500, but he has to judge a draft.
Oh, yes.
I'd throw in for that. That would boost our shit.
I guess he's kind of a loner up in the hills. He seems like he's like off in the hills of, I think, Colorado or something is where he lives, something like that. But he was just like, yeah, felt like I should get on Cameo and tell some couple funny jokes. And then,
$65
That's cheap.
$65, but Nate, I know what you're saying, and I kind of liked what you were saying.
That's your birthday present, buddy.
I kind of liked what you were saying.
I just want to make sure he knew that I acknowledged
He knew where I was going.
But yeah, that's Cameo. So yeah, Kevin Smith, I think he's always interacted with his fans in a lot of ways. So Cameo is not the place for him because that dude really has always been big with the fans. Like he's done a ton. Like all those Q&As, that was for the fans. Fans got to come up, talk. You could get pictures with them, autographs. Dude was he's always been a big part of the. I think almost every movie, starting with possibly Chasing Amy, some type of fan contest, you get to come out to the shoot and be in the movie.
He's a big like Comic-Con type dude too, right? Don't they do like the Comic-Con tours and do the
100%.
Q&As there and stuff?
Yeah, so he's always done that kind of stuff. But like I said, giving fans roles in his movies. I mean, they're usually like extras in the back, but I mean that's a cool thing to do.
I want to be in a Kevin Smith movie.
Kevin Smith, hit us up, man. We love you.
All right, so
we're moving. Streaming recommendations. What are you going to tell people after watching this religious comedy? What are you going to point people towards, Nick?
Big surprise. Can you guys guess?
Constantine.
Is that what it is?
No. Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. On HBO Max, 2001. You won't be disappointed. It's a good ride.
Yeah, if you're familiar with Chasing Amy, Mallrats, Clerks, that series, you're good to go, and it's a fun ride. It is a silly fun.
It's
ride.
what Grandma's Boy. It's what all those. It's what even Dude, Where's My Car wishes it was.
Yeah. I actually like Dude, Where's My Car.
I know.
Strong words, dude.
I know, but
The Cooch carries that picture.
That's a fun one. That's a very underrated, in my opinion, comedy. But good call. Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Definitely check it out.
So I'm going to go outside. I guess I'm not sure if this is in the universe exactly, but it's a little bit off the beaten path. But it's Zach and Mary Make a Porno. So I love that movie. I think it's sort of underrated because it's kind of like it's not thought of. It doesn't have the same characters in Brian Law. I don't know if it has any of the overlapping characters as the Clerks universe.
It has the actors, but not the characters.
Yeah. So a lot of the actors, but not the characters.
Did he direct and write it?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and
interesting.
It's really funny. I mean, Elizabeth Banks is just like pure gold.
She's
in
awesome.
general, and Seth Rogen, obviously. So it's got great talent. And I just I mean that's a winner. So it's streaming on Showtime, or if you have Prime, you can see it through Prime and Showtime. You can see it on Prime.
What's funny to me is that like for some reason I lump that in with like Apatow comedies to me. Zach and Mary Make a Porno.
It's because of the Seth Rogen crossover.
Is that has to be it because it's not that at all. It's good. It's not that though. It's not an Apatow verse. I don't know if Apatow is his own universe,
it's definitely not an Apatow at all.
Exactly.
But it doesn't feel
view askew.
I see what you're saying. It's Kevin Smith almost doing an Apatow movie.
I hear you.
So I think that's right. I think that's that. I would say because it doesn't have the same. It does have like really good fun dialogue, but the dialogue's not. It's in some ways like closer to Apatow dialogue than it is Kevin Smith dialogue.
What is James Hughes' character Lester? What does he call it when he's talking about grabbing the arm, the other person's arm?
The Dutch rudder.
Love that, the Dutch rudder. And then you're moving it. You're moving it. It doesn't even feel like it's yours.
Oh, so good.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Zach, what do you got?
We talked about it a bunch. I'm gonna go Tusk. Same thing, written and directed. You can watch it for $3.99 on Apple TV, or you can watch it on Fubo. I don't want to give any spoilers away because it's a good one. When you see the twist, it's good. It hits, and you got to check it out.
As being kind of a horror thriller guy, and I know this was kind of Kevin Smith's first kind of venture into that. Did he do a decent job?
He did a really good job for what it is.
Okay.
It's to me,
I know some people like just were like, "Fuck that movie, I hate it." Especially, I think really traditional Kevin Smith fans were like,
I could see how they would hate it, and I could see how even the your run of the mill moviegoer that didn't know what they were getting into and went and saw it in the theater, and they were like, "Oh, new Kevin Smith movie. Oh, he's doing a scary movie. Let's go watch it." And there's some. I mean, it's pretty good. It's a pretty good scary one. There's a twist, and I really dug it. And I think you guys should all watch it because it's not like nightmare scary, at least not to me. But some people said it was really fucked up. I actually checked it out on Reddit to see what Reddit had to say about it, and there was a large contingent of people that were like, "Fuck that movie! It's fucking so not that it's bad, but that it like, oh, that movie fucked me up. I've been thinking about," and it's like, okay, but
I'm gonna check it out. I definitely need to. I owe it to Kevin Smith to go check it out. So my recommendation is. I decided to think more in the lines of like religious comedies that I've watched in the past, and I went with the Invention of Lying, which is Ricky Gervais, his directorial debut. Ricky Gervais, Jennifer Garner, Jonah Hill, Louis C.K., Rob Lowe, Tina Fey, a lot of folks in this movie, and you have Ricky Gervais becoming the first person in history to lie, and then it leads to, of course, religious discussions and things like that. It's available.
Very religious movie, as with Dogma.
Yeah. So
sure.
it's definitely got a big religious overtone to it. Ricky Gervais being an atheist, so it's his kind of take on a religious movie, and it's available. This is actually part of the reason why I chose it. Available on Canopy, or maybe it's Canopy. I'm not sure. It looks like Canopy.
Canary? Did they actually do
Cantaloupe, bro. Cantaloupe.
I think that's what they call it. I think that's what they used to be called, but now they're Canopy.
Fucking kidding me?
Was there
Canopy with a K.
Accent over the E?
It's Canopy with a K. K-A-N-O-P-Y.
How many streaming services can we have? What the fuck is going on?
I'm saying if we just said random words every time, we would probably be right.
Puff Daddy's got a clothing line and a fucking streaming service. Boo boo.
I just signed up for Berserker.
Oh.
Berserker. All right, so that's your streaming recommendations. Go check those movies out if you enjoyed Dogma, and even if you didn't. We've got some usually pretty good recommendations. I think we've got a decent track record.
I just think it's funny that we're going to do this movie. If you guys want to watch it, get on YouTube and watch the pirated version.
I have no problems with that. Like I said, the Harvey Weinstein situation, no problem saying check it out on YouTube because that's what we did. In fact, we almost pivoted. I was like, guys, do we need to pivot because this movie's not available? And then all of a sudden, shortly after that, oh shit, it's on YouTube and it's a great version of it. It's not like they sped up the audio or it's like
I don't even think there was any commercials. I don't think there were any commercials.
No commercials.
No commercials.
Straight up 2-hour, 10-minute YouTube video with no interruptions.
Yeah, just straight up the movie. So it was great. All right. Reshelf it. This is where we take a movie and we're going to, just like Bev's Video Kingdom, you're going to take it from one category to another, or maybe you just want to change the ending up, get you something different. What do you got, Mr. Nate?
So I always apply my dad's till dawn rule. Dogma till dawn.
I hope this is an ongoing thing. This season at least. Let's do it this season and see how it works.
Dogma till dawn would be where they show up at the church. And you think you don't know what's going to happen, and then all of a sudden the church doors bust open and vampires come pouring out. And so like all the foes that had come together sort of like unsure, trying to prevent them from crossing over, and and then all of a sudden they're all fighting the vampires together.
Angels and humans together against the vampires.
Exactly. So that's my that's Dogma till dawn.
Angels and humans versus vampires. That's
exactly.
Good.
That's it. That's the one.
But that's the title of it. Angels and humans and vampires.
Angels and humans versus vampires.
It has to be Dogma till dawn, or it doesn't work.
Yeah,
that's true.
We already have a title.
All right, Nick.
Okay.
Nick, what do you got?
Yeah, you.
No, it was going to be. It was going to have a colon. It was going to be. It would be something till dawn, and then
got it.
Blah 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 versus
Angels and humans versus vampires,
and also werewolves.
All right. So I was thinking hard on a reshelf or a rewrite. And I started thinking of the airport scene, and then I started thinking about Love Actually. And so I started thinking of this movie needs to open just like Love Actually. Like it's the drama. This is the drama version of this movie. And this whole movie opens with Damon sitting and like analyzing and discussing. Oh no, it's Affleck sitting, because he's a watcher. He loves sitting at the airport and watching people coming, and how true that interaction is when they get off the flight and they're loving each other no matter what's going on in their lives. The airport is when he sees love.
And he sees Rickman cheating on his wife.
Yeah.
It's a Love Actually shout out.
That's why he lost his dick.
We didn't even talk about that yet.
The Ken doll situation.
Two different situations where people pull their pants down to show nothing.
Do they address that the angels can't eat? Is that what they're doing?
They can't drink.
Affleck's
Can't drink
taking
alcohol.
nuts. Affleck's taking nuts out of the bag, putting them in his mouth, and then taking them out and putting them into another bag. And it's almost like he's just like getting the flavor from them. Can they not eat?
I guess they don't have buttholes.
Yeah, they can't shit, right? Oh, dude, I didn't even
That's
make
what it
that
is.
connection.
I don't think I realized the eating part.
They make it specifically about the drinking. They didn't say
Yeah.
anything about the eating, but
Because he remember he gets a shot and he takes a shot and he spits it
Yeah,
out.
yeah, I remember that. But
Yeah.
you were saying the eating, the peanuts.
I thought for some reason after I saw the shot thing, I was like, wait, and I went back and Affleck in the airport seems to have 2 bags of nuts or pretzels or whatever he's eating, and he's like taking them, putting them in his mouth, and then taking them out of his mouth and putting them back in another bag, which I don't know, maybe
yeah, there's something about them they can't enjoy, like the human pleasures or something like that.
exactly. I think that's exactly what it
Yeah.
is. They can't have sex, they can't enjoy food or alcohol or whatever it is. So
All right, wait, we're still on.
yeah, we're still
sorry.
on Love
Go ahead,
Actually.
go ahead.
We Sorry, Nick.
Derailed.
I know I grabbed you there
That's weird.
with the Love
That I would-
Actually opening.
That's weird that I would
Just hang in
derail
there.
one of Nick's points.
But it opens in Love Actually, and it's Ben Affleck and Matt Damon as the voiceovers, or it's just one of them. I didn't decide it. I hadn't. It wasn't concrete. But then it ends with where it opens up with the narrator when the narrator's died, and he's still the narrator. So it ends with the same airport scene, and this time it's Damon and Affleck again narrating, but this time they're dead and they're in hell, but they're narrating and just kind of saying it went down this way, and and it ends on kind of like this weird ironic note, and that's all I got. Opening and closing.
Like hell actually is all around
The airport.
us.
Hell is all around us. So that's a good one. I like that. My kind of both reshelf alternate ending. What I want is kind of post this movie. I mean, we have a scene in the movie where the newscaster is filming and they're seeing all this carnage happening in front of this church. When the angels are just destroying everything, and I want like the serious movie that kind of, if this shit really went down, let's have a serious look at the aftermath of the angelic massacre. Like, how does it affect society and religion? Like, what's going on? I definitely don't want it to be written by Kevin Smith. I want like the serious take. Like, what if there was some like angel massacre in a church and like people like had footage of these angels flying around killing people? It's like, how the fuck would that affect society? Would people like, would Christianity like take over and be like, yep, we're right?
So who do you want to direct this? You want M. Night? You want Fincher? You want Nolan? Who do you want?
Maybe we go with who's the dude that did Requiem for a Dream?
I'm just saying.
He did Black Swan. He did a bunch of shit.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I was thinking like
Fucking Aronofsky?
Darren Aronofsky.
Fuck Aronofsky. I like a bunch of his movies, but he was I don't like him.
I just think I want that very dark kind of weird, like, how does society
Black Swan.
deal with it? All of a sudden there's this
Black Swan.
possibly proof of religious beings, and it's like, man, where do we go from there?
Fincher would be good.
I want to see the aftermath. I want to know if we actually had proof of some religious beings, how would that affect society? A little dark, a little weird.
I like it.
All right, well, hey,
that was Dogma.
we've talked about Dogma. We brought Kevin Smith to the real pod. He needed his due. 36 or 7 episodes in.
Dude, I mean,
He was the second.
This isn't the last Kevin Smith we're going to do.
but this is the end of the Kevin Smiths that we're going to do. It's going to be a movie that came out before this one. If we do another one, it's going to be it's going to be Clerks, Chasing Amy, or Mallrats.
I would say so.
Yeah, because I think those are all 3 great movies.
Yeah, I mean, I think Chasing Amy. I agree that. I think Nick said it, but I think Chasing Amy is his best movie.
It's his best movie.
I'm not going to call Mallrats a great movie.
I like Mallrats
it's
more
the
because of
funniest.
nostalgia. Yeah, for sure.
I think.
Yeah, so we will venture back into Kevin Smith at some point, but thank you for being here. Socials, hit us up, Facebook. We've had some good conversations with fans. We've had some fun stuff talking about shit and And actually getting shit on sometimes is always welcome. Like, please shit on us. Like,
bring the criticism. I want to hear everybody that's like, these guys don't even know what happened to Kevin Smith. Like, fuck these guys. They didn't do any research at all. I fucking hate these guys.
All right. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You can email us at bestvideokingdom@gmail.com. And you can come see us live at Last Call Brewing in Oakdale on Saturday, February 5th in the evening. We're going to be there for a beer release, so show up. You know,
we do have one real quick story about the social medias, which we have put a few different little things on TikTok. We started the TikTok. I don't even know if we have.
We're so fucking
more
hippie,
than
guys.
Like Nate's nephew as our followers.
That's the only one we have, actually.
But we took Scotch Beck's Ode to the Tramp Stamp and put that on TikTok, and it was on TikTok for maybe
2 minutes,
maybe 30 minutes.
I mean, I don't think it was that long.
Maybe it wasn't even that long, like maybe 10 minutes, and instantly got a copyright takedown for his parody song, which I was like, wait a second, isn't people just ripping off other people on TikTok constantly?
I thought that was
what
thing.
TikTok is.
Yeah, and somehow Scott's original words with just kind of the same beat as that Take a Look at My Girlfriend song.
It was like any Weird Al song.
Yeah, and it got knocked down instantly. It was pretty baffling.
And I take that back. It wasn't like any Weird Al song. It was like a really good Weird Al song.
Yeah. It's like some shit Weird Al song. Scotch.
It's like something Weird Al would have written himself with that curly fucking Zendaya do that he's got going.
So, yeah, that was kind of baffling. TikTok, we're not a big fan.
If only we could ask Scott, but he's still in quarantine.
Scotch, how'd you feel about them taking away your song? Were you cool with that?
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't make any sense.
I don't know why he would say
What are
that,
you talking
Scotch.
about?
He's actually worried. He was worried about it going viral because he didn't want to be the tramp stamp guy.
Yeah, well, what it is that I just picturing women all across the U.S. that are like, fuck, that's got a beat. I like this song. And then afterwards they're like, fuck, I have a tramp stamp.
But it's like their anthem, though.
Dude, it is. I mean, it's not shaming.
No, I love
No.
it. I think it honors. It
Scott
honors
wouldn't
the
do
tramp
that.
stamp.
I think it honors it.
Do you want to tell me?
sure.
Do you guys want me to tell you what my wife said?
It's like a fucking
Yes,
bullshit.
yes, please. Yes.
So I played it for her, and she's like, "And you guys doing the Wedding Crashers, right?" She's like, "Yeah, I guess that fits the misogyny."
Oh, jeez.
If the misogyny fits.
Melissa is like really good at
She's
seeing the bad in us.
She's our biggest fan.
Yeah.
All right, folks, we're gonna be having a draft on Thursday.
Come on back.
Check it out. Most
Kevin Smith
memorable
characters.
Kevin Smith characters. So shore up on your Kevin Smith movies, and we will see you Thursday. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I wanna be at Beverly's, bringing me home with my movies. Just a blind by, no reason why. I love this scene. Nick Natek and Brad, your favorite podcast. The stars.